Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Digital Toolkit 2022, the only place to get the latest tools, tips and advice for your business to grow online. Today's session will be an interesting one, and I think, coming from the last couple of years and the challenges that small business has faced over, pandemic, having to pivot your businesses, a whole range of challenges that have presented themselves over the last couple of years. How do you overcome them? And I think there are three, key actions here that people need to understand and apply, or at least just be mindful in making their decisions to move forward for 2022. And those three words are innovate, automate and delegate. So really interesting topic. We've got Letizia here and Kerrie Saverin, who are here to help me with sending you the right message on what it is you actually need to do. So we might start off with innovate, and the best way to innovate for small business at present is to, and obviously we're talking about digital tools here, and I think one that gets overlooked 9 times out of 10 when I come across business owners who talk to me about SEO and I want to get more people to my website, and how do I show up on Google, how do I just in general make more money with my online presence, how do I get found? So one of the biggest challenges that I come across, I guess, is not having a strong web presence, and that is because they're failing to utilize a really valuable tool. And when we say innovate, we're talking about introducing a new technology into our business. So that technology can be a conceptual approach, it can be a digital physical software tool, hardware, but essentially it's a tool to help you to improve your business model and processes and help grow your business. So that tool is Google Search Console. And as I say, 9 times out of 10 businesses have not accessed this tool, Google Search Console. It previously used to be called Webmaster Tools. So in the last few years, it's changed its branding and its name to Google Search Console. If you Google Search Console, it'll come up and you'll sign in. It's not necessarily as complex looking as Google Analytics. While Google Analytics is a very necessary tool because it's kind of a catch-all for all of your data going to, all of your web traffic going to your website, it's your social, it's your paid marketing from Google ads, Facebook ads, direct traffic, referral traffic from other links on other websites and things. But Google Search Console is a different animal. Your Google Search Console is only your organic traffic. So this means anything coming through from Google search result pages. But the best thing about Google Search Console is you can tell Google what you want to rank for, or you can tell Google, force Google to crawl your pages and get found. So Google Search Console is a way to physically submit your sitemap. And if you've got WordPress, Encore, Wix, Weebly, I think is the one that Kerrie works with, all of these, they have an automated sitemap generator. So you'll be able to access it. It's usually your website /sitemap.xml. You can actually visit that yourself and you'll see this funny looking list of code and the links to your pages. So that sitemap is what you submit to Google Search Console. And what you'll find is that your website is loading faster in Google search. So it's really powerful because you need to update your sitemap daily. You can have that setting on WordPress. You can submit it daily. Generally, depending on what platform, it'll systematically update the sitemap, but it is always good to, one, either be on top of it yourself and resubmit it regularly every time you jump in or think about it, or have an SEO specialist who'll do that for you. Ranking Australia does that. But it doesn't stop there. You've got so many tools inside Google Search Console. It works well with keywords everywhere, which is the very low cost plugin to get the search data on various search terms when you go to Google. But it has a bucket load of power inside Google Search Console, and it gives you that data for the queries that you're actually showing up for. So if you don't know what you're showing up for, Google Search Console will do that for you. So you've got a ton of data there to go, oh, I'm showing up for that, really? And then what you want to show up for, it'll show you where you're sitting on that, how far you are from the top, how many clicks are actually getting there, what's actually getting you clicks, what are you showing up for your impressions. And this data works in conjunction with your Google Analytics, and there's two ways to submit, two ways to set it up. So, and I'll finish with this one. You've got domain submission, which means that you need to put a DNS record on your domain register. So you update your DNS records within, say, GoDaddy or inside your Encore platform, or HostGator, or goodness knows where you net registry, but it's inside your DNS records. You add a text record. I recommend having a specialist help you. Most of these platforms have have support to do that. They'll help you. It's just a text record, copy, paste it, and it goes in there. But if you, potentially miss something or add a character where it's not supposed to be, it's not going to work. There is a more simpler approach, which is just, verifying your website to submit to Google using your Google Analytics, already activated Google Analytics, and it'll activate it on a HTTPS, whatever your domain is. But it's not as comprehensive as submitting the domain via DNS record. It's a catch-all for your HTTP, HTTPS, http.www, and without the www, and then vice versa for HTTPS. So it's a bit of a catch-all, and you have so much more power over the data to increase your web presence. So very cool way to innovate your online presence and to grow your ranking in Google. You're on mute there, Kerrie.
That's a great way to do it for a digital coach, isn't it?
Yes.
So when we think about Innovate over the last 10 years, really, the majority of innovation that's happened within business has been digital, hasn't it? It's been about making sure that the digital systems are set up and all that kind of stuff. And even as we move forward, it's about, I guess, re-looking at those systems for some businesses and going, well, there's a better option out there now, because as we know, technology moves forward so quickly. Look at what we can do from our mobile phones today and what we could do 10 years ago. It's amazing to see the difference in that time frame. So a lot of innovation has come from the digital world. So this is a really great topic to discuss.
Yeah, but and it's also, the thing is, there's so many choices out there. There's so many systems available for people to use. It's really hard to know which one to use, which person to help you with it. Because as you said, Katrina, doing it yourself is a bit dangerous. You can really get lost in the weeds trying to find out, one, what you need to do and how to do it, and then you're never really sure whether you set it up properly and whether you're getting the best results. So it's really good to engage someone, at least initially. Like, maybe you don't have to have them as a person you work with all the time, but at least get someone to give you some advice and pay for someone to help you set it up. It's really worthwhile.
Absolutely, so true. I always say to a lot of clients that I work with, can you set it up by yourself? Yes, you can. Should you? No, you shouldn't. You should get an expert in, because the small amount of money you'll pay to have somebody set it up for you is going to save you tenfold down the track. Because if you haven't set it up right, you could be missing out on major opportunities. As you know, Katrina, someone sets up Google Console or Google Analytics wrong, they're missing out on a whole heap of data, which is really important to them.
Yeah.
But having somebody like yourself set it all up for them, and they're getting that data from day one, and they know exactly where they stand. And you also, they learn a little bit about deciphering that kind of data as well, because sometimes they don't know what they're looking at, and they don't know what the analytics mean. It's great to have the numbers there and to know what's going on, but what does that mean in terms of my business? And you're the perfect person to be able to decipher that and explain it to them in layman's terms.
Well, one of the things that has kind of popped up in, say, Google News or updates with the algorithm is that they are really pushing the credibility for specific topics. So if you are, let's say, a business coach and you're looking at every aspect of your clients' lives with your blog articles, if you're not focusing on that one aspect of your coaching that brings you clients, and every blog article is not directed at that one topic, then you're not necessarily going to be positioned higher in Google. Why? Because you're too varied with your topics, and it needs to be, straight and narrow. You are an expert on, say, I'll use the last topic, burnout, for example. And if you're targeting everything at that one particular topic, then you will rank higher because you're seen more credible, because across your entire website has this general air of or focus on that one topic. So that is that's the direction of Google this year for the changes to the algorithm. And just to let everyone know, I'm offering a free Google checkup at the moment, which basically we can go in and just check things are in the right place, set up properly, and yeah, a really great way to have peace of mind as far as your online presence goes. But I am very curious about what happens after they get to your website. What happens when they get in there? David, I'd love to hear from you.
Yes, obviously I work a bit with the in the CRM space and in process automation. And you're right, Katrina. Once you've got those contacts or people visiting your website, even it doesn't matter what they do. If they buy, obviously that's a great win, but you still need to communicate with those people. If they don't buy and they spend some time on your website, you want to try and capture their details through some sort of tool, whether it's a plugin that offers them a coupon or offers them a competition or something. You need to try and get those people's details. And then there's all the people that you do know. So all the people that are in your existing email system, people you meet in networking events, at shows or whatever. Like there's those people need to go into a process that allows you to work out which ones you should talk to next effectively. So a lot of people call it a pipeline, other people call it a funnel. It's basically trying to work out from the people that you've come into your business, what's the next step you should take with them. And if they are really ready to do something different, have a way that you can see that in a dashboard or in some sort of automated process to pop them out, so you know they're the ones that you should concentrate on. So most proper CRMs will allow you to segment people properly, to put them into different processes depending on what they've actually done and where they came from, and then to take steps when they've done something. The simplest form is they fill out a form on your website, for instance, whether it's a contact us page or a downloadable brochure or something, and then you take the step, you contact them or you send them the brochure, and then if they don't do something, then you put them into some sort of nurturing or longer term process to try and encourage them to take the next step or to come to one of your events. In your case, Katrina, you were mentioning, do your free discovery process, or Kerrie, I'm sure you've got the same sort of lead magnet approach in your business. Try and bring them through that process, and you can build it once and use it many times. That's the whole idea of automation. So instead of having to, every time it happens, you've got to manually send an email and you've got to manually, post something or send an SMS, all of those things can be automated at quite low costs these days. and it's quite simple to build. You know, you don't have to have, like I see people all the time who have like a 30-step process. Please don't do that. That's a recipe for waste of money and probably won't work. Most cases, a three or 4-step automation is all you really need. And one of those steps needs to be that you need to do something. Like, you know, you can't expect the digital platform and process to do everything for you.
Absolutely.
You need to be personally step in. You're going to make a phone call. You know, someone's booked something with you. You have to then you or one of your team members has to take that step to try and move them along the process. And one of the steps could actually be that you move them out of your process. So if they indicate that they're not an ideal client, then maybe you need a process to actually move them out and onto someone else, for instance.
Yeah, you said a couple of key things there, David. One thing that I look at with a lot of my clients is actually the customer journey. So if a customer is going to be purchasing from you or coming to your website, what is the journey that you want to take them on? What is the experience that they're going to have with you? And a really good example would be if I do purchase something off your website, I'm actually expecting to receive an email. It's not whether you send an email or not. That is an expectation that if I've purchased something on your website, I'm expecting to receive an email. If I don't receive an email, I'm wondering, did my purchase go through? Am I going to get anything? If there's no communication there, it can put a lot of fears and uncertainties in my purchase choice. And when customers come to your website, taking them, knowing what sort of journey you're going to take them on and say, oh, well, you know, we'd love for you to buy from us, but if you don't, would you like to sign up to our email newsletter or, you know, whatever it is? You know, it might be just that you're trying to get them into that email newsletter first. And then what's the process from there? Are you just adding them to your email newsletter and never sending anything? Or are you sending them something out? And what are you sending out? You know, is that cementing you as an expert in your field? Is it building a relationship with the person? But the key for me, David, was when you said at some point in time, you have to kind of inject yourself into that process. So this is where you obtain their phone number, maybe give them a call, sending them even a personalized email. So an email that is very personalized that says, you know, I noticed that you've joined our email database in March and we haven't had the opportunity to have a chat. I'd love to have a 15-minute discovery call or something. So an email that feels a lot more personal rather than just general information can work well if you don't have a phone number. But the success rate of you being able to obtain a new client or getting that person to the purchasing quicker comes from that personalized contact of you, because some companies have gone too far with their automation and it feels very robotic. It's like, I can tell nobody's doing anything in the background. This was set up 3 years ago and I'm just getting these automated emails. And you start to feel, as a customer, you start to feel a little bit duped. About, you know, gosh, they haven't even, you know, they wouldn't even know what I look like. They wouldn't even know what I sound like. So it's really important what you said there about doing that.
Yep. And you did mention something that's very important there too, is that even though you've set up an automation, you need to regularly review it because things change, you know, especially if you've got people in the business who've changed, you know, you need to make sure that whatever you've set up as an automation is still actually relevant. We see quite a few things people that they've automated something with a price on it, for instance, or some sort of offer, and that's now no longer in date, or the product doesn't even exist anymore, and that's a real problem because you're actually annoying people at the front end. They're never going to buy from you if they encounter something that's wrong or incongruent in your whole process. That just will turn them away straight away. So
absolutely. And David, it's ironic. I had this recently in my own business, and Katrina, you would love this as well. I changed one little thing on my website, and it actually affected the addresses of everything, you know, the domain addresses of everything on my site. So I have an email, a fortnightly email set up, which has got 152 emails in it. And every single one of those emails sends them to my website. But of course, I've made this one little change. So none of those links actually worked anymore, not one single link. So, you know, emails were going out and straight away. They were coming back to me saying, oh, these links that you've got in your email, they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. So, yeah, I've fallen for that, not, you know, changing one thing or not going back and reviewing your automation to make sure it's all running correctly is really key.
Yeah.
Just a note there on changing links, Kerrie. Just a reminder, and this comes back to Google Search Console, because it's it's a beast that's changing all the time, and I am I live and breathe it. So one of the things that you notice when you change links is your coverage in Google Search Console. So it's really important to resubmit your sitemap physically. Even though you might have an automated thing in there, just go in and resubmit your sitemap if you've changed any links, if you've made any updates. As soon as you do a blog, as soon as you add a new link, change a link, make any changes on your website, have a process in your mind when you finish off that you go directly to your Search Console and resubmit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so the next thing we were going to talk about, I'm just mindful of the time, is once you've innovated, you've got a system in place and you've automated some things, then as a solopreneur, like I think we all started in that process, the next step is you need to get other people helping you out. Kerrie, I know I think you've done the same thing as I've done in my business. Is we've actually Katrina's done it as well. We've all outsourced parts of our activity, and we've all got various people working in our businesses. Do you want to talk about sort of the steps to delegation and how you fit that into this model?
What's really interesting is that traditionally when we think of delegation, we automatically think of staff, don't we? We automatically think, I'm going to delegate that task to somebody. But I guess I want everyone to think a little bit differently about the word, and thinking, for me, I delegate my email marketing to MailChimp. And that's set up properly in forms of an automation, which David's just spoken about. But delegation doesn't have to just mean to a staff member. It could be to a system that you're going to set up, so you know that that's taken care of. It could be to another experienced professional who is a contractor. And the advantages of doing that means that you don't have to pay them week in, week out, or month in, month out. It can be, I need you to do this job. Can you do this for me? Yes, and it's done. And then the next time you need them, can you do this for me? Particularly in the admin space is a really big one as well. I know probably all three of us have been swamped with paperwork throughout the time of our business, and feel like we could really use that bit of an admin support so that we can get back to doing the things that we're really good at. Essentially, virtual VAs and things like that give you a really great opportunity to be able to delegate certain tasks to them, even down to the phone calls too. We spoke about touching base with a potential customer. It doesn't have to be you. If you've got somebody who can call on behalf of your business and say, I'm just calling to touch base to see how the purchase of your product was, all of that kind of stuff is really important. But if you are a business that does have staff members, I've had this myself before, it's really easy to become the king or queen of your domain and get yourself into a position where all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, I can't even go away on holidays because I'm doing this, 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 and this. Or when I do go away on holidays, I still have to do this and this. So I can't really relax and have a great time because of that. So if you have staff members, somebody taught me something many years ago. It was a manager that I worked for, and I worked for a supermarket chain, and I was working on the checkouts. I was about 18 years old. And I remember saying to this manager, you wouldn't know how to use one of these checkouts. And he said, that's what I have you for. Never be afraid to surround yourself with people that know more than you, because they'll make you look good. And that always stuck with me, that, especially in business, we know how to run our business, and, we're the king or queen of that. But introducing people to your business who actually know more about a particular part of your business and can make it run smoothly is really key. So with staff members, don't be afraid to start training them on how to do things. You want to be able to step out of your business and go away and have that business run just as smoothly as if you were there. So some tips to help you out with that: checklists can be really good. writing down what you do, because all of a sudden you go to train somebody and you're like, oh yeah, well, I actually put the pen on the left hand side of the desk because that's actually where everyone walks past. It's all these little things and intricate bits in your business that you don't realize until you start training somebody. You're like, oh yeah, that's where I do that. So making sure that everything is written down. And I know we've previously probably spoken about standard operating procedures that will help with that. But training up your staff so that you can either take a step back from your business or know that if something was to happen to you tomorrow, it's going to run smoothly. And whether that's staff members or delegating it or outsourcing it, either one of those things works well.
Yeah, and look, just getting back to you being able to step away from your business and not being the a part of every process. One thing that we've found really useful is with any team members that we've got working for us, we have at least a weekly sort of stand up with everyone, and we also do daily stand ups if we've got a particular project on that's constantly changing, and that lets everyone know what's going on in the business, and we use that in conjunction with a project management tool that allows everyone to see what everyone else is doing. We haven't actually talked about that automation of processes. If you're a delivery business like I am, and I think what you do, Kerrie, and what Katrina does, we need to know where things are in the process. If there's a 10-step process going on for a client, we want to know who's doing step 4 and when step 5 going to start type thing. And having a system that everyone can access and see what's going on is a really important part of that. So we review the process as often as it's needed, at least weekly, to make sure that everyone knows what's going on. And therefore, if you step out for a couple of days, which is always nice to do, it's going to keep running. So
yeah, that's really key, David, in terms of obviously bringing it back to digital. There's programs like ClickUp and Monday and Trello that you can use to actually make sure that all of your staff know where everything is. And having those systems set up too, it's what I like to call silent communication. It's where everybody is just doing their own task and documenting, yes, I've sent that email or I've contacted that person. So you know exactly where they're at any time without even having to have a conversation with somebody. And that is really key, because as the business owner, you need to have a great overview of where everything is at. And delegating the task to others when you're talking to your clients. If I had employed you, David, to do some email automation for one of my clients, you become part of my team. So I say, look, David's really looking after that email automation for you, and he's done A, B, and C, and looks like he'll have this completed by the end of the week. So knowing where everything is in terms of where the project's at for that customer can really give you the advantage of the projection of how professional you are and how things are run and organised.
Yes. And it just increases the whole efficiency of your business to have those sort of tools in place. And I know a lot of people who run their business off Google Sheets, basically, which is not, you can definitely do that up to a certain size in your business and number of clients, but at least have something that everyone can see, or everyone who needs to see information can actually see it. So it's not all just coming through you, or it's not all on a spreadsheet that has to be closed and opened by various people around the office just to make the whole thing work. So Katrina, just to probably finish off, you might have some ideas about tools for business in that Google world. What do you use in your business? Do you use Google Sheets, or do you use Asana or Trello or one of those?
Well, as you know, I'm well plugged into a lot of platforms, but I guess what I have really enjoyed using as it's simple and it's kind of holistic, is definitely ClickUp. I discovered it probably last year, and I use it every day now. So it's really, really quite useful, because it integrates with Google. And you can use it with Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Drive, and because I use Google intensively, and there are so many tools in Google, the trouble is, essentially seeing everything at a glance, and that's where ClickUp comes into play. It's you know, the cost is negligible over you know, when you compare it to Trello. You know, Trello is wonderful, but it's, you know, it's limited. You've got to add in power ups. You've got to have, you know, you've got upgrades. Where ClickUp, while yes, you've got upgrades, you can still use it for free, but I do recommend the paid version. It gives you so much more capability and automation. Oh my gosh, it's got automation in there. And you can have automation only on specific lists. So, you know, you update something here and it doesn't necessarily activate the automation that's on this list. So it has its own quirks and benefits and things within that. And if you're a list person, if you're a card person, a Scrum board person, if you're a very visual mind map person, you can change the view. It's really cool. And you know, if you like typing up notes and things, but most of all, it integrates with your calendars as well. So, you know, it gets a lot of things out there, reminders, sends you emails. If something happens in the back end with other people, sends you updates, and you can track your time, you can track billable time, a whole range of stuff. It's very powerful. That's my favorite.
Cool. So how are we going for time, mate? Speaking of automation, are we pretty close to our
We
30
are
minutes?
indeed. We are indeed. And I think we've had a brilliant session today. Thank you so much for jumping in, David and Kerrie. And I think there was a couple of things there that David had mentioned that I'm going to get onto as far as automation. I mean, you keep thinking, you know, you've got some systems in place and hey, you've got to actually go and review them. So, you know, check the data behind it. And, you know, coming from you know, being a data fanatic, you've got to look at your own data as well as your clients. So it's important to review things on a regular basis. So as far as innovating, automating, and delegating, don't forget to you know, review and check in with yourself as well.
Cool.
So thanks, guys, and remember to register, subscribe to the Digital Toolkit, to 1, get found, get paid, and grow your business online. Thank you, everyone.